Welcome to the VandySports podcast, live from Chili's alongside Luke Wyatt. I'm Billy Derrick, and Luke, we've got a lot to get into. But first, some of the particulars. This week's Vanderbilt football postgame show is brought to you by the Wash House, the Murfreesboro Pure Milk Company, Sutherland and Belk, and Maynard Nexon Government Contracts Group. Today's topics, Luke, recapping this game.
Whoa.
And my goodness, where do we start? Vanderbilt beats Hawaii 35-28, and you see that score. And, I predicted somewhere around 45-17 potentially, right? And maybe Hawaii gets into the 20s. So I'm surprised, but not utterly shocked.
No, everyone, when you beat a team like we did last year, 63-10, everyone thinks you're going to see a repeat because we're getting better. But what they don't understand is a guy like Timmy Chang has another year under his belt to work with that offense. That offense will put up a mega points in the WAC. That Hines kid and a couple of their receivers, they will wreak havoc in their division. They're going to win 5 or 6 football games. Possibly it'll be a bowl team. I know people are saying, how can it be? But it's true.
Yeah.
I felt like tonight, I think my prediction was 37-21 because I thought it'd be similar to this type of game, but some of the decision-making late in second half, and then the way we started the game, we ran the football well in that first drive. Then we started airing it out and kind of, maybe a little bit too much in the air and got out of rhythm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I looked at it from the start.
I go to, how surprised are you? Obviously, you saw something like this potentially coming. I was telling people all week that, as you said, Luke, this is a dynamic offense.
Yes.
And they got going last year late in the season and picked up a couple of wins. If there were 3 or 4 more games in their schedule last year, they could have probably won 3 to 4 more games. Like if that's an NFL schedule, they probably keep winning.
Absolutely.
Last year. And so Timmy Chang, is an underrated coach, right?
Yeah.
He was a tremendous player. I think this showed the country what he can do as a coach. And I know this isn't all about Hawaii, and you don't want to give too much credit to Hawaii, but you sort of have to tonight. I mean,
you do. Like I said, offensively, there was a couple of plays where, I know everyone's saying the 2 things that we were worried about reared its ugly head, the rushing, the football, and our defensive secondary. Well, there was a couple of plays where we were covering the guy, and it just a perfect throw by Shager. Now, I will say this. When we cannot get thrown over top and we're up 35-14.
Right.
That can't happen. That's
right.
That's a little bit on coaching, I think.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. But, it's the first game. And I always tell everybody, the first game, you improve more between now and next week against Alabama A&M. You'll see a much improvement in the running game, much improvement in the secondary, I think. Ricky Wright, Jaden McGowan were my 2 guys that I would say player of the game. Those 2 guys were fantastic. The other thing that kind of people don't realize, Jaden with his touchdown return, that's one offensive possession you don't get as well.
Right. Yeah.
So, you score quickly there, and against a team that can score themselves very quickly, sometimes that doesn't help you in the long run. But it's just a win, and a win is a win is a win. We'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, you start 1-0 on the season. Again, there's a lot to clean up and definitely some things to be concerned about. You get Alabama A&M next week. And for any of you guys watching right now, fire in your questions. Luke is best of the best here. He can give you answers that really nobody else can. We got Damani here on YouTube. He said, I knew our corners were bad. More concerned about the run game. Right. So corner was a question, right? We all knew that.
Yeah.
And obviously they've got stuff to clean up there. More concerned about the run game, though. And that hit me as well. And I said this in our podcast this week. I said, I think Vanderbilt will try to run the football. I was disappointed in the offensive line tonight.
I was too at times. Now, again, like I said, if you go back to that first drive, we ran the football effectively. We scored on the ground. Patrick Smith on the 20-yard run or whatever it was. But we went away from it very quick. In other words, I don't think we gave the running game time enough to get its rhythm and get going. Again, here it is. It's the first game. You're trying things, but I do think they send an extra guy just about every play.
Yeah.
They're bringing someone from the secondary. They run blitz very well, under control. The kid who got the big penalty at the end of the game played a great game. Their free safety who got the late hit that gave us the first down. He played great tonight against the run. And then up front, our guys weren't getting off the blocks. I mean, you got to be better than that, and they will be. And we're missing what? Darren Agu, another guy. Some of these guys that played and started tonight will not. I'm not going to say they're going to be role players, but they're going to roll in at times. They're not going to play the amount of snaps they played tonight. I thought, we talked about our corners being weak. Tyson did have a rough night.
Yeah.
But B.J. Anderson, I thought, played pretty well.
Yeah.
He did not get picked on, so to speak.
Yeah.
They saw Tyson early. He got in that first drive when he got the pass interference, and then later on in the game, another one. He's got some work to do. And, he did make a couple of good plays against the run and the short passes, but you can't let guys just run by you. You can't do it. You got to do a better job of flipping your hips and running with them. They're both running 4.5s, but he knows where he's going. So you got to be very good in your technique and be sound, and I don't think he was.
You saw a lot of heads not turning.
That's it.
Right. Backs to the quarterback, and that typically doesn't work out well.
Well, it's back to technique. Billy, there's a couple things I wanted to kind of talk about. I just made game notes during the game. I thought that our defense, we played pretty vanilla in the first half. We didn't bring many blitzes. We tried to get there with 4, which I know Clark wants to be able to do that, and Coach Howell. But we weren't getting there. And at times, when we did bring somebody else, all you got to do is get him off his spot. We weren't even doing that. I think we only had, 1, 2 sacks?
Yeah, not many. Not many. I've got the stats here.
There was one that was either a sack or a tackle for loss by C.J. Taylor.
Yeah, both teams had 3 sacks.
Oh, we did have 3? Okay. Yeah. I missed one somewhere. I just felt like that we didn't get him off his spot enough. He was pretty comfortable all night.
Yeah.
And when you give a guy like Shager time to throw the football, which we did, they're going to put up points.
Yeah. 391 total yards for Hawaii, 297 for Vanderbilt, and neither team really ran the ball well at all. I mean, 40 yards apiece for both teams. So,
right.
And I told Chris in the booth, I said, it feels like a representation of 2 offenses that are pretty good, right? They can throw the football when their quarterbacks are given time, but 2 defenses that are still trying to get their feet under them in the culture of their team.
Yep.
And, I mean, let's face it, both defenses struggled. I'm not saying this was a 50-50 game. Right. But 35-20, I think the over-under hit in this game. I think was it 54?
53.5 or 54.
53.5. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, both defenses struggle. Right. Yes. And we can both agree on that.
Yes.
But, Luke, I'll say this about where this team is at right now. And I said this last year after the Elon game. That Elon game was an opportunity to dominate a team for 4 quarters.
This reminded me of the Elon game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and they dominated Elon in the first half.
Yeah.
Second half, Clark has said this. If they played another quarter, Elon might have won that game.
That's right. Yeah.
Similar thing tonight. Vanderbilt, they're not ready as a program. Clark would tell you this. They are not there yet as a program, even in year 3, to dominate a team for 4 quarters. Maybe they do it later in the year.
Right.
Maybe so. Maybe they do it next weekend. But I mean, it's just they weren't ready tonight.
No, and like I said, you learn so much from game 1 to game 2. And I think that our kids, when we got up 34-14, and kids, it's been this way for a long time. If you're not an ultra-talented team, like, for instance, and I'll not compare us to Georgia, but let's say a team like Georgia, when they get you down 35-14, they want to beat you 60-14.
Yeah.
Whereas our guys are kind of right now happy with that lead.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying the coaches sat on the lead. I'm not saying that at all. But at the same time, they've got to learn to have that killer instinct.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got another question here from Matthew on Twitter. We've got a few rolling in here. So ask your questions, get your comments in. Matthew says, are there things that the lines can improve on? Is it simply a talent deficiency? And I was just about to talk about that. Luke, do you think this is more of they don't have the guys, or, do you think they really do have room to improve?
No, they have room to improve, and here's why. The first game of the year is the toughest game. I don't care who's playing who, because they don't know what we're doing. We're totally different offensively than we were last year. They're totally different offensively. So the first game, it's all corrections.
Yeah.
Now, if you're getting physically whipped, you're coming out of the game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you happen to see, and I didn't see it, if you happen to see a guy on the line of ORD come out of the game, that means he's getting physically whipped.
Yeah.
If you're missing an assignment, that's one thing. That's correctable errors. But if you're getting manhandled, and I didn't see that, so I feel good about that. Again, the things that bothered me, I thought AJ played well at times, but his decision making a couple of times were, and again, it's first game of the season.
Yeah,
that'll get better. But I think his decision making was tough at times.
They almost had the
almost
interception.
having to pick. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. And then probably the biggest play in the game down the stretch. You remember the Anderson breakup at the end zone?
Huge play.
Without that, they have the ball and the game's tied there on that last drive.
Yep.
And they may have gone for two. So
it's funny. There were some plays in this game where if Vanderbilt doesn't make those plays, Hawaii might have tied the game there.
Yes.
They maybe they go and win the game. So as poorly as Vanderbilt played defensively, there were still 2 to 3 plays, at certain points in the game, whether it was early or late, where they just barely slid by and they did what they had to do. I think there's something to be said for that. Now, again, you win 35-28 over Hawaii. Doesn't look good, right? But I really do think there are things to build on, and there were some really good things, and we'll get to those good things.
Yeah.
And we've got a good bit of questions coming in.
Sure.
Let's finish your notes first, though, Luke. I want to let you finish through everything you've got, and then we can get to the rest.
Well, I have a question because it may be a complaint. You're going to know this because you're in the press box and you have all the stats in front of you. I'm in the stands. On the 2-point try after our first touchdown, was that Hayball or Dante Kelly?
It was Hayball.
I have a problem with that, and here's why. We have maybe the best punter in the Southeastern Conference, and you're risking an injury.
Yeah,
asking him.
That was a really, really strange play. I was typing. I didn't see that. I think Chris saw it, and there were a bunch of other people that just missed it. They were like, "Did they fumble the snap?"
Right.
No, that was a 2-point attempt.
Well, I know what they were trying. When you line
and they
up,
like Hayball as a runner, but still a little
too big of a risk.
A little strange. Yeah,
I'm sorry. In my mind, there's too many other people could do that.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing with Hayball. On that play, he has a look. If he sees a certain matchup or a number thing, that's when he calls the play. He can call that off and then move back and kick the extra point.
Right. So the formation where there's basically 2 mini formations.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
So he saw something, or at least he thought he saw something.
As the quarterback, technically, at that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he can call it off and then move back into the formation and kick the extra point. But evidently he thought they had the numbers, or he got a bad start. It looked like he was a little slow getting up in there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just don't like doing it with him, and I know he's the holder or whatever. But let's try somebody else.
And I'll add this to that too: the way Vanderbilt got back and they converted the next 2-point conversion.
Right.
You felt a little bit of, okay, this offense can make up for some things.
Yes, and
right?
they can.
They can, but this team can't rely too much on that.
No.
I felt a little bit of that tonight, where defensively, you give up a touchdown. Offensively, they're like, that's okay. We're going to get out and score.
Right.
And they can do that. I just don't know every
you can do
possession,
that against
right?
3 or 4 opponents we play, but not many more.
Yeah. I think Coach Lee is trying to get them to say, hey, we can't do this against SEC teams yet.
Yeah.
Right. Now, maybe you do a couple of possessions, but not consistently. So I felt a little bit of that tonight.
I agree with you. Let's see. There's a few more things I wanted to. Logan Kyle was a big involvement tonight.
Yes.
I thought Hoskins would be more. I think he got 1 catch, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're fine. London getting his first touchdown, great for him.
Mm-hmm.
Junior didn't get, but I think won the ball once, but just once for a loss.
Yeah.
But we have depth there. What we've talked about, and Chris and Joey and all of us before the season started, was where we're weak, where we're strong, where we have depth, where we've improved. And I think tonight pretty much showed all that.
Yeah.
We're worried about the corners. We're worried about the pass rush. And again, Darren Agu, when he comes back, it gives you, somebody else wouldn't have been,
Yeah.
He's going to get it. So that's going to help there.
Yeah.
Martell Hype played well early, made a couple mistakes. They took him out.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get better. When they sit in here and watch this film tomorrow or Monday, whichever day they do it, probably tomorrow, they're going to learn so much.
Yeah.
And say, oh, that's right. I'm supposed to be here. And then next week you won't see that against Alabama A&M. Now, I haven't studied Alabama A&M. I don't know what type of attack they have. I hope they throw it all day. Hope they do, because we need that.
Yep.
We need the reps.
Yep.
But I again, it's the first game.
Yep.
I thought it would be a 14 to 17 point game, and it kind of was. If we get that first, but we let them throw over the top.
Hawaii was, and I know I keep giving credit to Hawaii, and a lot of it was Vanderbilt's wrongdoing. But you get up 21-7. Hawaii doesn't let that get to 28, right? 21-14.
That's right.
Right? They almost tie it at 21, right?
Yes.
And they just never – one thing, Hawaii never let it get out of hand, but Vanderbilt never – it's almost like they never fully lost control.
That's right.
Right?
Because Vanderbilt helped them not let it get out of hand.
There's credit to give on both sides, I think.
It is.
And it's game one. It's week 0. And you mentioned Logan Kyle. He had 1 carry for 13 yards on that end around on the edge.
Yes.
Looked a little bit like a Brock Bowers type play and I think that can work within this offense with Logan Kyle. He's got receiver speed, as the coaches like to say. So I thought Kyle looked good. Is that all you've got for now, Luke?
Pretty much.
Okay. We'll answer some of these questions. We've got a few more. And then again, if you guys want to fire any more, we'll be going probably next 15, 20 minutes or so. Again, we had, I got this written down. We had an hour and 40-minute delay.
Yeah, usually we'd be in
so we would be
an hour and a half.
We would be home, maybe sleeping right now, right? But no, we're here at Chili's, and again, hopefully, after an 11 a.m. kick, maybe 2:30 kick. What's next weekend?
6 o'clock.
6. Okay,
a little earlier, with no lightning.
With
delays.
no lightning, we'll be in here and we'll be out of here by now. But again, so we'll have to shorten this. So get your questions in now.
One quick thing I want to interject here, and you're probably too young to remember this, but the last time we faced a true run and shoot football team was in 1990. SMU was just coming off probation, and Vanderbilt was probably a 17 to 21 point favorite. It was Watson Brown's first or second year at Vanderbilt, I think. No, this is like his last year.
Okay.
We go to SMU. They have a quarterback named Mike Romo. A lot of fans are going to remember this. We lose 44-7.
Wow.
In a game like this, in rain. And
the rain is another element tonight we haven't gotten into.
That's right. And look, that run and shoot, if you're not prepared, and you can prepare for it in practice like you want, they know how to run it.
Oh yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the opposite of preparing for the option.
Mm-hmm.
If like preparing for an Army or whatever, an Air Force. That's the toughest kind of offenses. And those guys know where they're going, and they did. Those kids, Timmy Chang, again, let's go back to him for a minute. In short order, in his second year, we saw the improvement Clark had in his second year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Timmy Chang offensively has the same type of improvement.
No doubt. And they've got the receivers for that offense, right? They're not big guys. They're quick, right? And they can get open.
And they had the Tajay Spears type running back.
Yeah, and he really was contained tonight. That's something underrated. And Hines really didn't do a ton tonight.
Right.
And that's even more impressive that Hawaii almost won this game without their stud running back not doing much. All right, let's get to Seth's question, more of a comment here. It seemed like with all the variations in the run game, the coaches expected significant struggle. A lot of sweeps, reverses, bringing Jaden in the backfield, a lot to show week 1. That's a little bit of a comment that's headed everywhere. Jaden was in the backfield, I think, one play. I think they tested out a lot, Luke, right? They didn't – I don't think they showed a ton of things they'll show in SEC games. And we talked about that this week. But they tested out a couple of wrinkles. You saw an end around with Junior Sherrill. London Humphrey's touchdown was just, hey, London, go sprint down the sideline. And, they got a free play and they threw it to him. I don't think there were a ton of wrinkles, but there were some little surprises here and there that you're like, okay, maybe we see a little bit more of this, the Logan Kyle end around.
Right.
Not going to say it was vanilla, but, they did what they had to do to score enough and hold on in this game. Yeah.
Well, one quick thing I wanted to ask you, Billy, what was the sack yardage against us? Because that goes against your rushing stats, which I don't believe that should happen.
Right.
How many yards did we lose rushing because of Swans?
Well, let's see here.
It's 3 sacks.
Sack yards minus 18.
So we would have ran the football for 20 more yards, basically. So it's still not good. That was, again, the 2 things we talked about, all of us, I have to give us all credit. The 2 things that we were a little bit worried about was running the football and secondary.
No doubt. And
Dericky Wright had a great night, though.
Dericky Wright had a good night. C.J. Taylor had a really good night.
He's tremendous.
Those 2 guys, the 2 safeties right there.
Yeah.
They made plays that kept Vanderbilt even remotely, close in this game, right? I mean, they kept them there,
Sure.
right?
Savion
or else
Riley
Hawaii might have tied or won the game. Yeah, Savion Riley early. Huge play. All right, Brad, a question here. Do any preseason predictions or expectations change after this game? And this is something we talked about in the booth a little bit, and kind of chattering and oh, I'm shocked, or I'm surprised by this. But Luke, you're more of in the belief that it's week 0, game 1. You respected Hawaii, and I respect that. I tried to tell so many people to not sleep on this Hawaii team. Great coach, great quarterback, right? They got the receivers. They know what they're doing. And the players, everybody's on the same page. Not that Vanderbilt's not,
right,
but it's a hard team to prepare for, especially in a week 0 game, right? So
exactly. The one play they ran, I can't remember if it was a tight end or where they snuck that kid in and he almost scored a touchdown. The big kid that was slow as Christmas, but he almost scored on it. Remember that play?
Yeah,
that's something you can't.
I heard that was an offensive lineman.
Well, see that
they had put at H-back.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
So that's the type of stuff you can't see it on film.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you play Hawaii, that's in there.
Right.
So
and early on, there were a couple of just leaky play where there's a wide open receiver.
Wide open.
Almost like the Tennessee offense where the system gets a guy open.
It does. And the thing is, Billy, when Vanderbilt, and if this was game 6, I'd be worried to death.
Right.
But it's game 1.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to expect game 1s.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen game 1s where we've gotten beaten and gone 7-4 on the season, and then there's been game 1s like this when we've gone 3-9. So
I think USC gave up almost 30 points tonight to San Jose State. Now they scored almost 60, but you've seen last year Florida State, and LSU. Yeah. LSU lost to Florida State last year. They went on to win the SEC West and play against Georgia in the SEC title.
Looked horrible against Tennessee, LSU did, but they bounced back.
Exactly.
And a lot of that stuff is just correctable. Mm-hmm. It is.
All right, Sebastian, good comment here. It was positive to see Martell Height and Savion Riley have some good positive moments. You can see the defensive line talent improvement and a solid group of linebackers flying around making big plays.
Yes.
So I would agree with that. Otaku says, I was at the game in the student section, almost had a heart attack. I'm not going to say I almost had a heart attack, but there were some, plays where you go, what did I just watch? It's a crazy game. A lot of stoppages, a lot of timeouts, long game. But it's a week 0 game. It felt like a week 0 game.
One thing we were better in better shape for sure, because Hawaii had like 5 guys cramp.
Yes.
We didn't have any of that.
We had a couple. I think C.J. Taylor cramped, but other than that,
it scared me because when he went down, they were looking at him. I was like,
I think the coaches told him to just go down. I saw that. But Will Kleiner, of course, played baseball at Vanderbilt. The 2 4th down play calls were baffling. The hurry-up run play when our offense was in total control and the fade jump ball to one of our shortest receivers. Love McGowan, but that's not the play. So let's start with the first one, the 4th down, where they speed it up, they get to the line, and they give it to Smith, and it gets blown up. Hernandez got blown up on that play.
Right. And I think early in the season, you don't do that type of stuff. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. That's Coach Lynch's decision. Obviously, he knows a lot more football than I do. But I agree. When you're in a rhythm, why do you change your rhythm, especially on a 4th down play?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get in there and, I agree with the Will on that one.
Yep. And then the second one, I'm almost forgetting this one. The fade jump ball on 4th down to McGowan. I'm forgetting that.
If Will's still listening,
Will, comment back in.
Let us know when that happened during the game.
Yeah, we're both forgetting that one. Let's see. All right, Mark Hughes. Tyson Russell doesn't need to see the field ever again. We will we'll ignore that one just out of respect for Tyson. Mark Hughes, why did they? Okay, same with Tyson. Should have read those before I read those out. But yeah, Will Kleiner will comment in here and let us know when that one was. I'm trying to think of some other key plays, Luke. Some of the intriguing stats. AJ Swan, 19 for 30, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns. Nothing to shake your head about there.
It's fine. No picks. Lucky he didn't have one. Now, I will say this about AJ. One of the things he's got to do when we go empty and he has no protection, he's got to get rid of the football quicker. I don't care if it's an incompletion. He took a couple of sacks when we went empty That can't happen. And he's got to have that clock in his head.
Yeah.
And when he gets to 1, 2, 3, boom, it's got to come out.
I'll say the Johnny football type play. I wrote this in the gamer that I'll have out. He scrambled to his right, and I think he kept running to try to gain some momentum on the throw.
Right.
But I thought he could have sat there, right, because there really wasn't any more rush. He had evaded the rush. I thought he could have sat there, but I mean, it ended up counting, right? The release, it was close.
It was really close.
And I was up there arguing in the booth. I said look at the release, right? I think that's good. Ends up being good. Credit to Marion Carter there. I thought Carter did a great job of sticking with it. I think he ran an in-cutting route and had got kind of caught up in the middle,
right,
and then cut up, and he was open. But I think down the road, maybe that play goes for 6.
Agree.
Right, where maybe things go differently. Carter, just those plays where as a quarterback you create something out of nothing, right? And I think Swan can do that. Didn't see a ton of it, right? But yeah, I think what they did was they set up a lot of easy throws at the beginning of the game, and then Swan figured out he's going to have to create stuff out of nothing, right? When you don't have anything.
Well, when they went single coverage with Will Shepherd, it was over with. Now, they didn't do it much, but when they did, they paid for it.
Yeah.
And when we get down on the goal line and you pretty much have to go 1-1-1, look, he's going to be a weapon for us moving forward. And we all know what a good player he is. Yeah. Now, he's got to quit after the touchdown, whatever his celebration was. Yeah. I didn't see it.
I don't think Coach Lee liked that either.
No.
It was, obviously they had been chirping and jawing back and forth. But
sure.
You're an experienced receiver. I don't think Coach Lee was a fan of that. Matthew Hearn, did Trudell Berry play any?
Didn't see him out there except maybe special teams. I did.
Yeah, I think Berry was out there on special teams. He's coming along a little bit slower maybe than Height. Of course, Height's a freshman. He's right. He's a talent. Berry's still learning. All right, Will Kleiner. It may have not been McGowan, but I believe it was in the fourth quarter. Could have been confused with McGowan, but it was 4th and 4 or 5. And AJ threw the low percentage fade. DB was in great position. I don't know. I cannot remember this.
I don't either.
Well, and
but I know Will's right.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Yeah, the thing Matthew said it was McGowan. Okay, but the thing about that is, forget that play. There were a lot of those I thought were nothing against Swan, but maybe he'll learn from instead of lobbing it up and maybe he's got a chance and. Maybe he makes the play, maybe he doesn't, but just being a little bit more, he's catching this ball, right? This is going to my guy. He's catching the football as opposed to maybe, and he likes to fade away, right? And he can make that throw off his back foot, right? But I noticed a lot of those, especially later in the game.
Right. The one play when we had to punt, when we were up 7, when he kind of threw in traffic, the main thing is he threw it to the wrong shoulder. You got to make a better throw.
There were a few of those,
a few of those. And then, again, first night.
Yeah. But
it's going to happen.
Rarely he doesn't, he avoids the interception.
He does.
A lot of times, right? Where if anything, his guy's going to get it. If not, it's incomplete, right? So that's what you like to see. Patrick Smith, 7 carries, 30 yards, of course, had that touchdown. I thought Smith ran well when he had the chance. I thought Gillespie ran pretty well at times. He's the bowling ball type of back where he's got decent speed, but he'll
ran over a guy. He caught a little swing pass and ran over a guy. Yep. That was impressive.
Yep.
A lot of guys. There was a lot of great plays. We did a lot of good things, offensively especially, and defensively too. I mean, it gets lost because of all the big plays they had.
Exactly.
And it's I can't. I would love to. And I might call Clark tomorrow and see if I can go sit on the film session. He won't let me, but I'd love to, just to see how they do with their corrections.
Yeah, no, I mean, it'll be interesting. Billy, Luke, Sebastian has a comment. Do you all feel this is one of the best receiving core Vanderbilt has had? Tempo struggled tonight, but can we expect to see a lot more of it this season? First one, yes. I really do in terms of depth, right? By the end of the season, I think this group is going to really do some damage. Shepard, Skinner, Carter, Humphreys, Sherrill, those 5 guys right there. Don't forget about Hoskins. I mean, there's real depth there. I do. I think it's one of the best Vandy's ever had.
Gamarian Carter.
Yeah. Gamarian Carter,
big catch. Again, we have – it reminds me a little bit of the team that had help me with the team of Mason's Bowl team that when we threw for 400 when Kyle Shermer was here.
Sherfield.
We had Scott.
Scott, Lipscomb.
Yeah, Lipscomb. We had – it just kind of reminds me of that. Yeah. And the tight end, Sam Dobbs, could catch the football.
Oh, yeah. Tempo struggled tonight, but can we expect to see a lot more of it? That's an interesting question because I think Vanderbilt wants to use tempo, but they know they can only use it in certain doses, right? They're not going to be there, and that's a lot of offenses, right? There's rarely any offenses that tempo, right? I think there's more of those now, but yeah, they struggled tonight in tempo. I mean, I don't think they really ran a ton of tempo on occasion, and it felt like it would be used in the run game, and they just, I don't know, it goes, a lot of it goes back to the offensive line tonight for me.
It does.
And it's week 0. It's not even week 1. It's week 1 for Vandy, but it's week 0. The offensive line struggled, but it's still early. I still look at that and go, okay, if they play the way they did tonight, they're going to really struggle, right? But that's obviously it's not going to happen, right?
That's the thing. You're right.
It feels dumb saying that, but it is true, right? They know they've got to get better, and they will. I'm sure they know they will.
Well, like we said earlier, it reminds me a whole lot of the Elon game. When we went up 21, and I think maybe that was what we were up against Elon, and let them come right back. And that's again that's immature.
Yeah.
Not being used to putting your foot on the throat. You got to do that.
It's funny. You look at the construction around the stadium, and the time it times up. That everything is in the same timing with the program, right?
It is.
You see the vision, right? We're close, right? You see the renderings, right? You see a 6-6 season. There's so much work still to do.
Sure.
Right. And I look at the construction. I look at this team right now. They can get there.
They can.
But it's going to take a lot. And I think they learned that tonight.
I will say this, Billy. When you survive a game like this, even though it's not as much fun as for a fan, you'd much rather win 63-10, obviously. It may help you. Because now he's got everybody's attention.
Yeah.
If you win 63-10 again, they say, "Oh, okay, it was Hawaii and we beat them. So what?" So now you've got another week with a team that you should beat, and you should beat handily. Got to get that done before you go to Wake.
Yeah.
And so this is an important week already. It's week 2, but it's a very important week.
It's a huge week, and Clark is probably sitting here saying, I thank the heavens that we have Alabama A&M this week instead of a road trip to Wake on Saturday. Yeah. Again, you play your schedule, but I think they're probably thanking the heavens for that. All right, Luke, we got about 5 more minutes. You good with that? All right, 5 more minutes. We got some more comments coming in. Swan seemed to be nervous in the end. I don't know about that. He says sometimes he would see him tap the ball a lot to get the timing down. I don't know. I don't know that I'd say he was nervous.
Well, in practice, and you guys go to more practice than I do, but his trigger mechanism is patting. So I don't have a problem with that. A lot of great quarterbacks pat the football. So he didn't get hot feet. That's what I look for. He didn't get happy feet. So
I do think he became more aware of the blitz.
And he had to. That's a life preservation.
All right, Mark Hughes' offensive line play was concerning. We've touched on that. Kleinert, I'm sure he had one-on-one out wide. We're still trying to get to this play. Let his guy go make a play. Just don't like that on 4th down unless it's to Shep. But I'm sure Shep had a guy with safety over him. We'll find that play, Luke.
Yeah, that one's driving me nuts. I do believe you.
we believe. We know you're a fan. All right. I didn't love Swan tonight. Couple clear instances where he telegraphed his throws. I know we're only a game in, but do we think that Seals might see the field this year?
He'll see the field either way because there's going to be series or whatever that he does. He gets dinged or whatever, or gets breath knocked out of him, whatever it may be.
It won't likely be because Swan's
it won't be.
struggling.
I don't think unless something goes very much awry.
I mean, it'll have to be pretty bad.
It will.
I think if Swan's helmet comes off or if he gets hurt, those are more likely when you'll see Seals. TM Carl, 4th and 1 tempo hurt us. Yeah. I mean, Luke, you touched on that. It was, you could almost see it developing, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Here it
comes. And you've seen that so many times with every team. I mean, you just get too ahead of yourselves. We want this first down. We're getting it. And then boom, it's like the whole team wasn't quite ready.
No, I agree with that. And, again, I go back to the players of the game. Thank goodness for Jaden McGowan tonight. He was tremendous.
Yeah.
And Ricky Wright on defense with the 2 interceptions.
Yeah. Those are your players of the game on both sides.
Players of the game.
All right. Luke's players of the game, McGowan and Ricky Wright. Chris Smith. Chris Smith, the obviously well-known scout here in the mid-state.
Absolutely.
AJ, a lot about AJ. AJ predetermines well, but he needs to scan the field better. Also needs to move quicker, specifically when the rush is coming, forcing him to climb the pocket. We got some quarterback coaches in this chat, but no, it's Luke. There's more talk about the quarterback, right?
Sure.
Whether it's good or bad. Last year was a lot, yeah, we talked about Mike Wright and Swan, but it was, there's more of a focus on that quarterback position. And I think that it, as a staff and as a fan base, probably feels good.
Sure.
We've touched on Swan, of course. Will says the boys will be fine. O-line and DBs will drastically need to improve. A consistent pass rush will help those DBs. That's something, we haven't touched on much. Agu to come back and be a force. Agu, Christian James. James will be a little bit longer. Agu should be back maybe this week, but most likely for the weight game. They've got to have him back. It's just
and also the knee of who was out last year with the knee surgery.
Oh, Davion Davis.
No. The other end.
Miles Capers. Okay.
Once Miles gets some more reps under his belt,
yeah.
Miles can get to. He almost got the quarterback twice tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get there. He did move him off his spot though, and again, that's so important. You don't have to sack them. Just make them uncomfortable.
Yep. All right, last comment we'll get to here. Good one from Matthew. Don't know if they were nervous, but it definitely feels like a team that is still not used to closing out games.
Agree totally.
Yeah, and we touched on that. Luke, I know it was short. We weren't able to get. I think we're shooting for about an hour and a half for these post-game shows. Hopefully next week, game starts at 6:30, right?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay, 6 o'clock. Hopefully game ends around 9:30. Get in here around that time and get our post-game show in. Hopefully we get some fans out here. But again, appreciate all the comments from you guys. Vanderbilt beats Hawaii 35-28. Next week, Alabama A&M, 6 o'clock kickoff. Luke, any final thoughts?
I just want to thank Chili's for allowing us to do this here, and hopefully we'll have some people around that we can talk to. I had 3 or 4 former players were going to come tonight. Yeah, but then we got delayed.
Yeah, I had some buddies that were going to come, but again, late the hour and 40-minute delay. Again, thank you to Chili's. They're basically closed right now.
Yeah,
so they're closing down. But for next weekend, prepare margaritas, chicken crispers, including the new Nashville hot chicken burgers, and of course, famous for fajitas here. Ooh. So we'll get some of that next weekend. Not now. We got to get some sleep now, Luke.
Let's get out of here.
We got to get out of here. But again, thank you guys for checking in. We'll see you next week. For Luke Wyatt, I'm Billy Derrick. This has been the VandySports Podcast.